Today I'm going back into the world of the controversial Japanese Guinea Pig franchise with the 4th entry, Devil Women Doctor. Devil Doctor Women. It was released in 1986, and just like the previous entry, He Never Dies, this one is silly, like very, very goofy. Again, it takes people's perception of the franchise being just basically pseudo-snuff films and turns it around its head. So the film not only deviates from the pseudo-snuff aspect, but it also deviates from just a linear narrative. This film is an anthology hosted by Peter, aka Devil Woman Doctor, who is a drag queen that is an unlicensed and underground surgeon. And the whole concept of this film is that Devil Woman Doctor will introduce some segments of people with weird diseases. Not diseases, although they do decease at the end most of the time. The first segment, for example, is this weird family that has this disease that anytime they get too emotional, their head explodes. And one of the members of the family has this terrible, shitty looking bald cap. But we don't stay with them really long because their head explode. All of them. Including the baby. And then in the same segment, there is this woman with a family that has the same disease but their hearts explode. And Peter describes how the girl's mother died because the phone rang when she didn't expect it. And Peter scares the living shit out of the girl and her heart explodes. And then from this first segment, I thought to myself, okay, this is gonna be like quick, funny, silly little sketches for the entire runtime. And that's kind of what it is, except that it doesn't really get any funnier from there. The second segment is this man who has a Dr. Jekyll and Hyde disease. Basically, he has multiple personality disorders, and he gets angry or happy, or he's just bipolar, I think. He's at a restaurant, he pours coffee on his head, he then pours a creamer, and then hits himself with a plate, and then to control that, well, our fine Dr. Peter will just stab him with a fork. I see now why Peter is unlicensed. And then the patient becomes popular, which is also a trend on how the segment will end, where the patient just becomes an entertainer. After that, you have a Yakuza member with a face on his stomach, but like not just a face, an entire person with a personality, but there's just the face on the stomach. And of course the Yakuza doesn't want it to be there, so he asks Peter to remove it. However, Peter has other plans for the weird Belial basket case thing, and that is to become an entertainer, because Peter sees that the stomach can sing. Then the movie kind of forgets about its own concept, and we see a TV news reporter telling us about a party where people eat human flesh. And then we see all of these dishes prepared with human flesh, and it goes on for way too long, there's no punchline, and then Peter plays this cleaning lady, and yeah, there's no punchline. And the next segment continues this trend of not following the movie's own concept with this weird guy that deteriorates because I guess he's dead. This segment goes on for way too long. I don't think it's supposed to be funny, I think it's supposed to be sad, but I was just not paying attention because it goes on for way too long. It's one joke that runs on for 5 minutes. Holy shit, was this segment bad. After that, honestly, I was kind of getting bored, which is not a compliment when your movie is 48 minutes long. And then the next segment kind of catched my attention. It's about people who leave stray organs around Tokyo, but the organs have a mind of their own, and they attack and follow this woman. This segment was quite funny, because it wasn't like 10 minutes long, and it had a punchline. Nothing to do with the concept of the film, but Peter shows up at the end. Then after that we have a guy that sweats blood, and Peter just hits him in the back and he throws up blood. At least this one doesn't go on for too long, but it was completely unnecessary, unfunny, it goes nowhere. Up to that point I was kind of just thinking, okay, this is an anthology, some of the segments hit, others don't, but man, this one, oof. It could have been completely cut out of the movie. It's so unfunny. Why was it in there? The next segment, however, gives me hope because we see Dr. Devil Woman in a latex suit with some Freddy Krueger looking gloves, and they have to deal with a Yakuza member with a tattoo that just runs around. Which leads to this film's most memorable scene where we see this stop motion animation that's actually kind of cool of this little tattoo that just goes on this guy's skin and gets in his ass. Which obviously I cannot show, but I did laugh at that. And then Peter's solution is just to completely skin this poor guy. And this segment is technically impressive, it's funny, it has a punchline. I was kind of getting back into the movie, and then we get the next segment, which is just 4 guys talking about their diseases, and goes on for way too long. I think it goes on for like 10 minutes, and one of the guy has a disease where he shits out a puke. Shits out a puke, because there's also a guy that pukes eggs, but in the eggs there's puke, and then there's the guy who shits and his turds are sentient and they talk. It's whew. This movie is rough. And the final segment is this montage of people who get nail pies in their face. What's a nail pie? It's just a prop where people get thrown in their face. I don't know if this was like real kind of prank footage where they pranked the team that worked on this. Man, the team that worked on this pranked me for stealing my goddamn 48 minutes of my life. So, what did I think of Guinea Pig 4, Dr. Devil Woman, or Devil Woman Doctor? These words, they just mash up together. And as you probably could guess, this was not my favorite Guinea Pig entry. In fact, I think it's my least favorite. I still haven't seen like 1 or 2 of them, but man, and I know people love this one for how absurd and how goofy it gets. I think it's just poorly edited, there's no punchlines, and it's just in no world should somebody's critique of a 48-minute film be it feels too long. Even He Never Dies, I kind of really liked because it was absurd, silly, and funny, but at least it had jokes, it was edited well, it didn't run on for way too long, and I don't know, I just didn't care for this one. Honestly, this film is only saved by the main actor, the actor that plays Peter, aka Devil Woman Doctor, who does a fantastic job. Man, looks fabulous, it's great, it's the lifesaver of this film, especially the part where you see him for most of the scene, because most of the time he's just there, he introduces the diseases, and then the scene goes on for way too long. But anytime he's the main focus of a scene, it's actually pretty good, like the tattoo one, like the intro, like the first segment, and then the movie is like, too expensive, innit? Let's just throw these 4 assholes talking about their stupid diseases for 10 minutes. So, to conclude, I would only recommend this one to the hardcore Guinea Pig franchise fans, the people who really want to see them all and complete their watch of this series. For anyone else, if you're curious, it's free on YouTube. If you're not, you can skip this one. Watch Mermaid in a Manhole, He Never Dies, Devil's Experiment? No, Bouquet of Guts and Gore. The one with the samurai, who also gets pretty silly. The one that Charlie Sheen thought it was real, even though it's clearly fake and there's like this samurai character. But I talked about those before. But yeah, anyways, Devil Woman Doctor, it's mid out of 10.